Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the homestead, the mud puddle. Sunday morning. Once again, 2 nights in a row, we got down to 19 degrees. And, it's not all that cold. I know other areas, other parts of the country are much colder right now. But still, 19 degrees is a chilly night. And right now we're up to 38 degrees. And I want you all to join me. I make this little walk, this little hike, every once in a while. I really enjoy getting out to one of my favorite spots. When we first moved out here a couple of years ago, we hiked the 41.5 acres that we live on just to kind of check it out. And we came across some petroglyphs on the very edge of the property. And they sit along a small cliff. The highest point on the cliff may be 30 feet. So it's a pretty good sized cliff. And it runs along a couple of miles. And I like to go out there every once in a while. And I've said this before, it really grounds me looking at these petroglyphs. So I'm dressed for it. I've got a t-shirt, a flannel shirt, and this heavier flannel jacket. And the last time my wife went into town, she brought home some gloves for me. Really nice gloves, warm. And they have this little dill on the knuckle where you can actually, use your phone without having to take your gloves off. And I've got my drone with me, so hopefully I can use that this morning. So come along with me, folks. For those of you that have followed along, this area, the petroglyphs that I discovered. So I want you all to join me. Well, the breeze seems to have picked up a little bit, so it actually feels a little bit cooler than it did this morning, but that's okay. Like I was saying, folks, every once in a while I come out here and it helps keep me grounded. And just reminds me that, there were others before us out here. And, there will continue to be others after us. Material things really don't mean anything in the end. And, I was guilty of that, folks. I lived in Phoenix for almost 40 years. I was born and raised in a small town in Idaho. 3 months after I graduated high school, I moved down to Phoenix. I followed my older brother, came down here to go to school, and, got caught up with everything. And it's easy to forget who you are, when you're surrounded by nothing but chaos and lightning speed, folks. It seems like everyone's always in a hurry. And, I needed this move. And I know I talked about this in one of my first videos. Reconnect and rediscover who you are, who I was. Look at this view, guys. There's a small pond down there. It's man-made. All the local cattle congregate there for water. Wildlife, coyotes, bobcats, cougars, things like that. That's not on the property. That's further down. But the petroglyphs are on the edge of the property, and that's where I'm headed. Sometimes I'll sit up here at the edge of the hill and I bring my binoculars just to see what I can see, you know, showing up to the water. Water is very important, as we all know, for the wildlife. We have free range cattle in the area. The ranchers have grazing rights out here, and that's another reason why we built our fence around the main area, the 3-acre fence, just to keep the cattle away. Originally, we enclosed the garden area because the cows were getting in at night and eating our stuff. So we built a smaller fence around the garden area, and the following spring we built the bigger fence. You know, and I've said this before, I hope everyone one day gets to experience something like this, living off the grid. And I know we're not 100% self-sufficient, but that is the goal eventually. And whether we get there or not, I don't know yet. We're still very new at this. 2 years into living this way. But it's very rewarding, guys. You put into it what you want. And you know, if you want to live in the tent, then so be it. But yeah, it gets cold out here. Nice big tree here. Big boulders. But I'm close to the edge of the cliff. I know it may be a little hard to gauge distances. I like to come up here and sit amongst these rocks sometimes. Well, heading down the cliff area, there's several ways to get down. Basically, you just have to find the safest route down. And there's the edge of the cliff. We're at the bottom now. And that's the some of the petroglyphs there, a couple of them. You can see how big this boulder is. And if you walk along the side, Not sure if you can see that in the distance. I'm trying to get my shadow out of the way. Different designs. It's kind of cool. And there's several along this cliff's edge. But it's kind of neat, guys. The sun just happens to be that way, so I'm creating a shadow. And I hope you can see that. That's the view. You can see the pond a little bit through there. I like to come up here and sit down and just listen to nothing but the birds. We got crows and ravens, hawks, falcons. We've seen eagles out here, bald eagles flying around. There's actually less wind down here amongst the big boulders here. But again, it's one of my favorite spots out here. And it's just a reminder for me anyway that a lot of things don't really matter. We get caught up, like I said earlier, in the chaos. You know, competing with neighbors and coworkers. You know, who's got the better car, who's got the bigger house, who's got the nicer threads. You know, things that really don't matter. And sometimes you have to step away from that in order to understand it. And I finally understand that really having less is really having more. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with living in a city. I did it for 40 years. You know, many people prefer that, and there's nothing wrong with it, folks. There's nothing wrong with it. But I know for me and my wife, I mean, we had to work in order to continue the lifestyle. And, you know, like the rest, living basically from paycheck to paycheck. And it was okay, you know, we didn't know any different. Most people don't know any different. But, you know, up until the last moment, we almost talked ourselves out of making this big move, because it was a big move. We left behind, you know, all the conveniences of a big city. Everything was there. But it's a reawakening, folks. We realize that, you know, this is a different life, a different lifestyle. It keeps us moving. It keeps us feeling alive. It's very challenging, but it's very rewarding, guys. And it just seems odd now when we do go back to Phoenix to go visit family. It just seems odd, you know, driving into town on the freeway, all the stoplights, all the people in a rush, and all the shiny cars. You know, people wash their cars every week. And we did the same thing. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, folks. If you prefer, if you like that lifestyle, if you prefer living in the city with all the conveniences. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is certainly different. And I certainly don't mind the quiet. And this is obviously a figure of a man. If this figure was upside down, it would mean there was a death amongst the people. But yeah, I'll come up here or down here and I'll find a boulder to sit on and just kind of hang out for a little while. You can see a squiggly line, which represents a snake, and just to the left of that looks like maybe a lizard. Well, that's fun. It was fun for me. I hope you enjoyed it, folks. I'm going to be heading back. I haven't had breakfast yet, so I think I'll go back and make me some homegrown scrambled eggs. Guys, if you haven't tried homegrown eggs, you're missing out. Much greater, a better taste. Can't beat it. Beautiful view from up here. You can see one of the neighbors. These are all juniper trees. You can see the juniper berries. That is how you make gin. For those of you out there that drink, if you mix vodka with these juniper berries, from the little research that I've done, I guess that's the way you make gin. And there's plenty of them out here, guys. So if you want to make your own gin, come on up here. But thanks everyone for coming along. As I said earlier, I like to make this little trek and revisit the petroglyphs. Long after we're gone, those symbols will still be there. As far as the history, the Yavapai Apache lived in the area. I don't know if they're the ones who created those symbols. And before then, before the Apache, the Sinagua, I believe is the word. Sinaguas were here way before the Apache. And those could be symbols from the Sinagua people. In Spanish, that translates to without water. And it makes sense. Water's hard to come by. I hope everyone enjoys their Sunday. Get outside if you can, folks. You know, if you live in a big town, a big city, you know, get out to the parks, spend some time outside. And if you can, spend some time alone. I think solitude is important for everyone, every once in a while. It makes you think a little more clear, and it makes you appreciate, you know, what you do have. But be safe, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Enjoy your Sunday. And we'll talk to you next time.